We've all heard the phrase, "You don't know what you've got until it's gone," but it hits differently when it comes to relationships. At first, breakups often feel like a sudden void, a moment frozen in time where you can't fully grasp what's happened. And yet, it's not just about loss, it's about perspective. When someone leaves, there's an immediate sense of absence, a subtle but constant reminder that something precious is no longer within reach. It's in those quiet moments, the ones when you're alone and the world seems to slow down, that the clarity begins to emerge. You start reflecting on the little things, the way they laughed at your jokes, the conversations that stretched late into the night, the small gestures that once felt ordinary but now feel irreplaceable. For her, realizing she's lost you can be just as profound, though it often comes months after the breakup. Initially, she may appear distant, indifferent, or even relieved. Life goes on, routines continue, and the breakup feels like another chapter being closed. But over time, absence creates a vacuum. She begins to notice the emptiness where your presence used to be. Memories surface unexpectedly, songs, scents, even places that trigger flashes of what once was. It's this combination of reflection and emotional gravity that awakens a subtle, yet undeniable, longing. Loss forces self-examination. She may question her choices, her timing, or the way she treated the relationship. The realization isn't just about missing you, it's about understanding what she truly valued, and what she may have taken for granted. This is the beginning of the journey from nostalgia to insight, where absence transforms into clarity, and the emotional weight of losing someone significant becomes unmistakably real. One of the first signs that she's beginning to feel the weight of your absence is often subtle, almost imperceptible if you're not paying attention. She doesn't usually come storming back into your life with confessions of love or dramatic gestures. Instead, she leaves small, almost accidental breadcrumbs, tiny actions that hint at her thoughts without fully exposing her vulnerability. It could be a casual like on an old Instagram post, a comment on a story you shared months ago, or a seemingly innocent text, "Hey, saw something that reminded me of you." On the surface, these messages might seem random, but they are rarely coincidental. Each one is a test, a small probe into the waters of your current life, an attempt to gauge your response without risking too much. These breadcrumbs serve a dual purpose. For her, they are a way to acknowledge that she misses something she once had, without committing to a full emotional confrontation. For you, they are an invitation to pause and observe. It's easy to misread them as signs of longing, but often they are more reflective of her inner process than a genuine desire to rekindle the past. She might be trying to reassure herself, to see if the connection still matters, or to measure whether her feelings are real or just nostalgia playing tricks on her mind. Noticing these small gestures requires patience and awareness. Don't rush to conclusions or let emotion dictate your actions. Instead, observe patterns and consistency. Is she genuinely interested in reconnecting, or is she revisiting memories to soothe her own regret? Recognizing the difference is key. The breadcrumb trail is subtle, often silent, but if you pay attention, it can reveal a lot about where she stands, and it sets the stage for what may or may not come next. When she finally decides to reach out directly, it's rarely an emotional confession or a dramatic declaration. Most of the time, it starts with something safe and casual, something that doesn't reveal too much of her vulnerability. "How's work?" or "How have you been?" This cautious approach is intentional. It's her way of testing the waters, of feeling out your reaction without risking rejection. Emotional vulnerability is inherently risky. No one wants to expose their feelings only to be ignored or dismissed. By keeping her initial messages light and neutral, she protects herself while simultaneously opening the door to a possible reconnection. This phase is delicate because it's easy to misinterpret intentions. A simple "hey" may seem insignificant, but it can carry a quiet weight of curiosity and longing. At the same time, it might simply reflect her desire to check in, to see if her feelings are still valid, or to confirm that you are thriving without her. How you respond here is critical. If you are open to reconnection, keep the conversation honest but light. Share a bit about yourself, show that you're present, but avoid rushing into heavy emotional territory too soon. If you're not interested, it's equally important to respond with respect and clarity, setting boundaries without giving false hope. This stage also reveals a lot about her self-awareness. She's approaching cautiously, aware that pushing too hard too soon can backfire. It's a subtle dance between curiosity and restraint,
between nostalgia and genuine desire to reconnect.
Observing her approach and being mindful of your own intentions allows you to navigate this phase with clarity. Recognize that her outreach is often as much about her testing her feelings as it is about you, and let that awareness guide your response, keeping your emotional well-being at the forefront. Absence has a remarkable way of creating clarity, both for the one who left and the one who stayed. When someone steps away from a relationship, it forces a pause that allows perspective to emerge. At first, she might not notice the weight of your absence. Life goes on, routines continue, and the initial emptiness may seem manageable or even temporary.
But over time, the void becomes more apparent.
It's in the quiet moments, during a commute, while scrolling through social media, or when passing by a place that reminds her of you, that the reality of your absence hits. She begins to reflect not only on what she lost but also on what she might have taken for granted. This process is deeply tied to a psychological principle called loss aversion. Humans tend to fear losing something far more intensely than they value gaining something of equal worth. In the context of a breakup, this means that the absence of someone significant can provoke intense reflection, self-questioning, and even regret. She might start asking herself whether she truly appreciated you, whether her choices were fair, and whether she could have done things differently. These feelings often surface gradually, sometimes months after the initial separation, as she observes your life moving forward without her. Her fear and longing are natural responses to this new clarity. The absence gives her space to understand what the relationship meant, what she misses, and what she may have overlooked while it was still ongoing.
But this is also a crucial time for you.
While she navigates her emotions, your focus on personal growth and self-improvement becomes your anchor. The clarity that absence brings is not just about what she lost, it's about the opportunity it creates for you to strengthen your sense of self, embrace independence, and define the kind of relationships you truly want in the future.
Not every reconnection is born out of desperation or nostalgia, and sometimes, revisiting a past relationship can lead to something positive if the circumstances are right. Breakups happen for a variety of reasons, some trivial, others more significant.
Conflicting schedules, stress, miscommunication, or external pressures can all play a part, and when these factors are the real cause, the connection itself may still hold value. In these situations, a genuine, honest conversation can offer clarity, help heal old wounds, and even lay the foundation for a fresh start. When she reaches out, it might be an attempt to bridge the gap caused by circumstances rather than a reflection of flawed feelings or incompatible values.
Reconnections that work are usually grounded in understanding and communication.
Both parties need to reflect on what went wrong, acknowledge their individual mistakes, and be willing to approach the relationship with new perspective. For example, I know a couple who broke up because of stress and conflicting routines, not because of a lack of love. Months later, they ran into each other at a mutual friends gathering. They had an honest conversation, shared what they had learned about themselves, and realized that their separation was more about timing than compatibility. They decided to give it another try, and today they are happily married with 2 children. Before considering a reconnection, it's essential to evaluate the reasons for the breakup. Was it superficial, like timing or external pressure, which can be overcome? Or were the issues deeper, like dishonesty, lack of trust, or fundamental incompatibility, which are unlikely to change? Understanding the cause helps prevent repeating the same patterns. Reconnecting can work when there is mutual growth, reflection, and a genuine desire to build something better. Otherwise, it risks reopening old wounds without creating lasting change, making it essential to approach with both caution and aware. When she reaches out, it's not always easy to decipher what she's truly feeling. The emotions behind her actions are often complex and intertwined, shaped by reflection, nostalgia, and self-awareness. She may be feeling regret, realizing in hindsight that she didn't fully appreciate what she had. Those small moments she once overlooked, the quiet support, the laughter, the way you made her feel seen, suddenly take on weight, and she begins to understand the value of what's missing. Alongside regret, nostalgia often emerges, bringing with it a flood of memories. She may recall shared experiences, inside jokes, late-night conversations, and moments of connection that brought joy and comfort. These memories, however bittersweet, can stir emotions strong enough to compel her to reach out, even if only to reminisce. Guilt often accompanies these emotions as well.
She might question her decisions, worry about her role in the breakup, and wrestle with thoughts of what she could have done differently. These feelings can create a compelling urge to reconnect, to seek some form of closure, or even to attempt to repair what was lost. However, it's important to remember that these emotions are primarily about her journey, not yours. She may be seeking reassurance, healing, or validation, rather than a true desire to rebuild the relationship. Recognizing this distinction is critical because it helps you approach her outreach with clarity and emotional balance. Understanding her feelings allows you to respond with awareness rather than impulse. You can empathize with her experience while maintaining your boundaries, ensuring that her process of self-reflection doesn't dictate your choices. By staying self-aware and prioritizing your own growth and well-being, you protect yourself from being pulled into emotional cycles that may not serve you. Her emotions are part of her journey, but your actions remain under your control, guiding the path forward. By the time her subtle messages arrive, it becomes crucial to observe without reacting impulsively. These early attempts to reconnect are often more about her testing her own feelings than a clear desire to resume the relationship. She may reach out with a casual text, a social media comment, or even a fleeting mention in conversation. On the surface, it can feel significant, tempting you to respond with excitement or emotional investment. Yet, this is the moment to pause, reflect, and consider the broader context. Understanding her intentions requires patience and discernment, because rushing to conclusions can easily cloud your judgment and lead to decisions based on temporary emotion rather than long-term clarity. Observing without reacting allows you to maintain perspective. It gives you the opportunity to see patterns, notice consistency or lack thereof in her behavior, and determine whether her actions are driven by genuine interest, nostalgia, or a personal need for closure. This awareness helps you navigate the delicate balance between empathy and self-protection. By staying calm and composed, you prevent being drawn into emotional cycles that might compromise your progress or cloud your judgment. This phase also teaches the value of emotional intelligence in relationships. Recognizing that her actions are as much about her self-discovery as they are about you allows you to respond from a place of strength and awareness. You are no longer reacting to every impulse, instead, you are considering your own values, goals, and growth in every choice. Observing without immediate response empowers you to set boundaries, maintain self-respect, and make decisions aligned with your long-term well-being. The subtlety of her messages is a test not of your feelings alone, but of your capacity to remain grounded, thoughtful, and clear-headed in the face of emotional uncertainty. Imagine receiving a message from her that simply says, "I've been thinking about you." In that instant, you stand at a crossroads, a point where the past and the future collide, demanding reflection and decision. The choice in that moment isn't about her feelings, it's about your own path forward, your values, and your sense of self. Going back may seem familiar and comforting, but familiarity doesn't always equate to growth or fulfillment. Retracing old steps can be tempting, especially when emotions run high, yet it often carries the risk of repeating patterns that led to heartbreak in the first place. Choosing to move forward, on the other hand, requires courage, clarity, and trust in your own journey. It's about stepping into the unknown with purpose rather than retreating to what is familiar but potentially limiting. Crossing this metaphorical bridge means leaving something behind. It means acknowledging the past, understanding its lessons, and allowing those lessons to inform, but not dictate, your future. Your decision should reflect not just emotional impulses, but also a thoughtful evaluation of what aligns with your long-term goals, your personal growth, and the life you want to build. This isn't about rejecting her or the past out of stubbornness, it's about honoring your evolution and protecting your emotional well-being. At this stage, self-awareness is your greatest ally. Reflect on your journey, consider the growth you've achieved since the breakup, and ask yourself whether reconnecting aligns with your values or risks pulling you back into cycles you've worked to overcome. The power to decide is yours, and exercising it thoughtfully ensures that whichever path you choose, reconnection or moving forward, it comes from a place of clarity, strength, and self-respect. Losing someone, whether through a breakup or the natural drift of life, is never easy. It teaches us lessons we might not have learned otherwise and forces us to confront truths about ourselves and our relationships. When she reflects on what she lost, it can serve as a mirror for your own journey, revealing what you truly deserve, what you value, and what kind of connection will serve your growth.
Relationships are not simply about being with someone, they are about two whole individuals coming together, each bringing their own stability, self-awareness, and purpose. When one person is chasing the other, the balance is lost, and the relationship is rarely sustainable. Growth becomes the ultimate goal after a breakup, and it manifests in many ways. It might be through understanding your emotional boundaries, pursuing personal ambitions, or learning to appreciate your own worth independent of another person. It might also be reflected in the choices you make when an ex reaches out. Responding impulsively can be tempting, but when you consider your own journey and evolution, you begin to see that honoring yourself is more important than revisiting old patterns. This self-respect is not arrogance, it's a commitment to building a life that aligns with your values and long-term happiness. Sometimes, reconnection happens, but only when it complements growth rather than undermines it. Other times, letting go is the healthiest choice, creating space for new experiences, relationships, and opportunities. Losing someone teaches us that clarity, self-awareness, and maturity are more valuable than temporary comfort or nostalgia. The best relationships are formed when both people are complete on their own, capable of giving love without losing themselves in the process. Ultimately, the end of a relationship is not just a loss, it's an invitation to evolve, to learn, and to embrace a future built on wisdom, strength, and self-love.